Hello, my name is Eric Putkonen. Thank you for joining me. Today I'm going to talk about abiding as the unborn. Now note, I did not say abiding in the unborn, which is impossible because you are the unborn. It's a mental trick when you're trying to relax, get into, or otherwise accord with that which you already are. To try is to deviate, as Taoism would say. And so when you're abiding as the unborn, what does that mean? Well, first let's kind of get into the unborn. Now, I first heard about the unborn as I was studying some of the Zen teachings of Bankei. And he would say the unborn is that which we were inherently born with. We came into the world, so to speak, with the unborn. Now, if you think about it, it makes sense. The unborn is the unconditioned, the yet uninformed, the un, you know, turned into all these other things. Perhaps untinted might be a way to put it too. It's not yet been tinted, slanted, or otherwise manipulated. Instead, it is almost like a mirror. It reflects perfectly without distortion. And it happens automatically. It is not something that needs to be tried to be done. For example, as you're watching this video and trying to listen to me, you may hear of other sounds, either in this video or in your surroundings. And you'll hear them regardless of whether you deliberately tried to hear them or not. If you showed up trying to hear the background noises or not, doesn't matter. You hear them nonetheless, because this hearing comes from the unborn. It just comes. Seeing just comes. If your eyes are open, you see. If you're consciously trying to see and trying to do things, that's a bit more deliberate and manipulative and starting to deviate from the unborn. Because the eyes naturally kind of want to wander. Let them. And because you're taking in the entire surroundings, you're taking in everything, as opposed to if you focus just on this piece, all you are trying to really consciously see is this little piece that is different than the unborn. I guess a way to put it is there was a student who asked Bankei once. He said, "While I'm meditating, I seem to be unaware." And Bankei said, "Well, if I took a gimlet, which I think is kind of like a small knife or pointy stick, let's say, and he says, if I jabbed you in the side, would you feel it?" And the student said, "Well, yes, of course I'd feel it." And Bankei said, "Well, then you weren't unaware." The unborn was still fully aware. And so it's not about conscious focus and consciously getting and retaining or remembering. You don't have to remember. Again, a mirror doesn't keep the image. If I had a mirror and I pass it across, the image of whatever's in front of me doesn't stay on it as I turn. It changes constantly. Nothing sticks. Such is the unborn. Now, I had said it was untinted and unconditioned because from this early on state of residing by and large in the unborn, we pick up many bad habits, concepts, beliefs, conditioning of all sorts. And as we pick up these bad habits, we think that the bad habits is the way it should be, which is typically not residing in the unborn or as the unborn. Now, as an example of the way the unborn reflects things rather well, especially if we're not being partial to ourselves. See, one of the ways the unborn is covered or tinted or kind of hidden is through our self-partiality. Because when, let's say you hear two strangers arguing and they're trying to explain their points and their reasonings, you may almost intuitively, or from what you heard, you could tell who has the better argument in terms of who seems to be more correct, more in line with the way, so to speak. Why? Because it's not about us. We're able to keep objective. However, if we were one of the people in the argument, we become very attached to the partiality of ourselves, our beliefs, and winning the argument. It becomes very, very difficult for us to actually see the truth of what's going on, as if we're an unrelated observer. And so it's important to abide as the untainted, untinted, unconditioned, unborn, because it lets you see what is as it truly is, without being marred by self-partiality and conditioning, and the lenses and filters through which we try to see the world. Now, self-partiality is such a major detriment, I think, because Bankei made a big deal of letting go of self-partiality. And the reason is the unborn has no circumference. The unborn has no border. And for that which that has no circumference, there could be no center. And so if you're coming from a center, you've added a center to that which doesn't have a center. And so you've born something in the unborn. And so you're already once removed as soon as you add self-center to it, self-partiality. And it is possible to become several degrees removed as we layer upon conditioning and belief and concept. And so one of the ways to abide as the unborn is to let go of self-partiality, let go of the center. When acting, do not be looking for and focusing on what's in it for me. Instead, is the action in accord with the way? The way could be love, truth, harmony, unity, which I've mentioned before is all rather unitive. And so the action doesn't have to relate to a me, but almost all of our actions do. And that's why the unborn is sometimes very hard to tell and realize directly. Because Bankei said, all you need to do is realize you're the unborn. You've always been the unborn. Just live and abide as the unborn. That's all you need. And you are a Buddha. You're liberated instantly. But the unborn is letting go of all the conditions. It is letting go of creating and bearing things, making things born in that which doesn't have tint, doesn't have a condition. For example, when we look at things, the tendency is often to label. We'll label things, this is a tree there, this is some grass there, this is a sign. I don't know if you can see the sign back there, but we just start labeling things. Well, all this labeling happens in the mind. It happens after the fact of the actual awareness of seeing what we're seeing. Labeling it as good or bad happens after the fact. Labeling it, is it good for me or bad for me, happens after the fact. All past, all future happen in thought. And again, is not really aware of what is now. The unborn is simply aware of now. All thought, all the stuff that happens afterwards is what's born from that. So quit bearing and making things born after the fact. Let all that go. Try to, not try, but just abide as best as able in the simplicity of what is when you're not trying. When you're not trying to hear, what is there? You still hear. When your eyes are open and you're not trying to see anything in particular, what can you see? When you're not trying to feel, what do you feel? It's spontaneous. It's not deliberated. It's not thought out. It's not something that you're doing with, it's not really done for a purpose or a goal. Purpose and goals are things that we assign. They're born. They're created. So what is there before anything is born or created? In the mind. And that is the trick, is to just abide as that. Anyways, thank you very much for joining me. If you've got any questions or comments, please post below. If you think someone would enjoy the video, feel free to share. But thank you much.